Good evening. I'm presuming over here on the West Coast, but or East Coast, excuse me. We're off to a good start. But really, I have no idea what time it is anywhere. Welcome to another exciting playoff brackets match here at Free Enterprise. We are in the round of 16. My name is John Burkhead. I am so happy to be doing co-commentary with someone who's joining us for the very first time in the booth. Please give it up for MJ. MJ, how you doing, my man?
I'm great. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for this. For any folks that watch Free Enterprise, you're going to know both of these names. Rhybon is a very formidable foe. ZZ5 winner of the Red Moon, which was the harder flag set. Uh, there's a handful of names that, for anyone that runs, if you are competing against them, these names are terrifying, and both of these are certainly on board with there. Rhybon coming first out of the D Machine group. JudgeJoe coming third out of Mac Giant, but Joe, for anyone that's raced him, knows he's a bit of a wild card. There is an adage in Free Enterprise of just because you can, doesn't mean that you should. Joe usually does, and the amount of times it pays off. Joe is a fearless runner that will take on pretty much anything at any time, and he is so smart that he certainly knows how to manipulate the game to make it work. So I think we're in for a very exciting matchup here.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we've got a Sid hero. Elven Sorrow fans will be delighted. MJ, how do you feel about a Sid hero?
I think that his agility is going to work out great in the late game, and I think that his HP and his versatility will help in the early game. I think overall we're maybe giving it easy to him, so we might want to make things a little more difficult with where the items are placed.
That is fair. We have 3 moon objectives, so darkness is going to very much feel like go mode. It's entirely possible to make things difficult for our runners tonight, that darkness might be very deeply buried. Also in those objectives, to the delight of chat, we do have Magnus as one of our 6 of 8. So it's very possible that we're going to go ahead and be picking up some music for a stream, which is always a good time. I'm also a big fan of Sid's forges. All of them are solid. A couple of our heroes that we have that we can forge with, either for the mages, they tend to be not that exciting, or some of them are just flat out duds. All of Sid's forges are absolute monster weapons.
What
What
I
up,
think you hinted at is we want the darkness behind the Twin Heart.
Yeah, or as I'm thinking about it, the mod they have chosen that you can see right there below Rybon's time there is they have chosen dangerous gates. If we are talking about having some rough bosses, that means that if it is a Vivalis, if it is a Golbez, if it is a Wyvern, typically as a safety in there, we don't really have any. We don't allow underground access to be behind them. However, with dangerous gates, anything goes. So if we have some rough bosses that are gaining access, we might have to see some very high acumen decision making from our runners to go ahead and get through. Ooh, we're getting started.
Nice. Right, what do we have?
Sid paired up with Rydia.
An assassin dagger.
Mm-hmm. So, 2 of probably the slower characters in the game, especially base level Rydia. That Assassin Dagger can be pretty big. You'll get a +5 agility, so we might see some agility manipulation from our runners. Also, if we end up taking some monster boxes to get some agility, we can get some swoon procs out of that Assassin Dagger as well. If we can go ahead and get the relative agility to cooperate. That's a little harder to do when you have a slow hero like Sid, but we are off to the races.
Looks like Joe's going to check out Barren Town first, and Rhybon's checking out Watery Paths.
So Barrentown is kind of a more old school, as we see a Palom gated behind at least an Antlion and something more in the second spot there. Um, this is more of a old school kind of looting technique before the weights came into effect. Watery Pass has a slightly higher ability to have higher tiered loot. So I'm trying to keep an eye on both streams here.
Yeah, I saw Bandana on Rhybon's side. That'll help.
Absolutely. What's nice about Sid is Sid can equip a lot of things too. So if you get a decent bow and arrow, you're good to go. A hammer, you're good to go. An axe, you're good to go. There's a lot that he can go ahead and equip. We are on T Pro, T standing for treasure, which means that the treasures you're going to find are not going to give you overwhelming power terribly easily. ZZ6, as we're in right now, has been regarded by the community as a pretty difficult flag set. And as a result, you're not given overwhelming power easily. You kind of have to make do with what you have.
Life staff for the eventual white mage, hopefully, and Rhybon side.
And with Rydia right now, Rydia can actually equip that now if wanted, as well as something like a white shirt. Rhybon going a little deeper into Watery Pass here, not quite finding the power that he's going to be looking for. And quite frankly, neither did Joe. We got a brief look into what they're equipped with. Looks like just a great bow and iron arrows. That means Sid is back road, which is great, but it doesn't mean that it's terribly powerful. And we didn't really pick up any kind of weapon either that if you were to come across a character on Hobbs that you can throw on there. So despite a decent amount of looting for early on, there's really not that much power to be found here right away.
I'm sure that Odin summon will come in handy.
Very possible.
I think I caught 2 Thunderclaws for Rhybon, though, so that's 1 and 1 for sale.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, Edge could be gated, or Yang could be found relatively quickly. We have a little bit of a crisscross. Actually, I misspoke. I missed it. So our runners are kind of crisscrossing each other. There is a Blizzard Spear here. So should that be Kane on Mount Hobbs, that's something that he could equip, and you could reasonably go ahead and get through a check. Honestly, even a decent bow would be enough to get started here, but it has been not all that much. Right about making some decisions, not kind of equipping what he has here, getting back road, getting set. We're going to get a waterfall check here. There's no key item to be found here, but the free key item is off, and we are looking for demist at some point. That could gate an item. Just a sparkle there, Rhybon deciding not to check what the sparkle is. Sometimes you might want to take a hot second to see if Ogopogo's off the table, or Plague, or somebody like that. But Rhybon, wanting to go fast, just resets out.
I think the half second to see what sprite showed up would have been handy, but I'm not telling Rhybon what to do.
Right, all right. Sometimes like, but then you remember exactly who it is. That is not a character of power, in my opinion. That's not even a character. Let's see which one it is here. So the good news is that Mylon Z, despite his stature and literally being the Fiend of Earth, is actually floating right now. And when you're floating, even with a great bow, you are a little more weak to arrows, as we see 500 damage there, which is generous. Also seeing that power staff. That power staff can be used to elicit Berserk. Might be a little bit tricky again with a slow hero like Sid, but it's certainly possible. Oh, there it is on Joe's side. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
So, if it's me in this particular situation, as Rydia goes down with a very rude Mylon Z there, that's rough. That 4,000 plus experience, when you combine that with the experience in Antlion, assuming that neither boss is split, will give Rydia warp, and you get a couple warp casts, and you get out of Antlion a little bit faster. So it's kind of a rude hit for Joe. But a new addition to the flags that we had with this tournament to try to facilitate the looting is a min tier 3. So what that means is every item that you can find is given a tier from 1 through 8, as we see some divergence. Rhybon hoping to maybe find some things out here in Antlion, whereas Joe's moving on to Fabul. So with that min tier 3, in a place like Antlion Cave, where maybe you're not going to get a tier 5 item that's incredible, you might get, although there's a Ninja Blade, which is tier 5, you might get something a little more serviceable. So we're seeing Rhybon doing a little extra looting here. I agree with this completely. Looking for an over axe, an earth hammer, a poison axe, something, anything to go ahead and get a little more consistent power. Even just a decent bow would be good.
Buying a Thunderclaw on Joe's side is a wooden hammer, a Fabul.
Yep, Ice Call there too. It's always good to be able to pick up things that can kind of hit on elemental weaknesses. Rhybon, not really finding much of anything here. To answer a question in chat, I have no idea if Rhybon's Rydia is backroad. I know that should the Flame Whip or any kind of whip be equipped, that would go ahead and do it. Rydia can also equip a bow and arrow to do the same thing, but I don't know.
Lunar.
Yep. So that Earth Hammer that's the DPS that Rhybon was looking for here. So that Earth Hammer has a fire element to it. I'm going to expect him to just attack straight on now. Each one of these Lunars is going to have only 500 HP, and we see it going down clearly. Lunars can be rough in the wrong spot. They can really do some serious damage if you attack them directly and causing virus cast and all there. But having a fire weapon where the HP is very low, Rhybon's very well aware of this and in good shape. Meanwhile, Joe is taking on Dark Elf over in Fabul Defense. Dark Elf can be rude and can be uncomfortable and annoying. But again, Joe is one of our very intelligent runners and will know how to go ahead and get through this with no problem.
I like how Rydia survived that battle with 1 extra HP to spare.
Yeah, I'm sure perfectly calculated or not, one or the other. With Rhybon, I never know. I've had the pleasure of meeting him in person twice, and the intelligence on that man is just through the roof. JP, I don't know. That's a great question. If an Earth Hammer has a fire element, does that mean Mylanzi is also the Fiend of Fire? I'm going to guess no, but again, that's a question for runners much smarter than I am. Alright, let's see what we got from Fabul Defense. The Luca Key. So Sealed Cave is not one of our requirements. What's nice about the Sealed Cave check is that you can peek the item, and you don't necessarily have to commit a ton of time there. Plus, if we end up holding on to this Rydia, she learns Warp extremely quickly. You cannot reset out of the Sealed Cave, because in the vanilla game, we have a cutscene that appears just at the very end with some very classic Kane betrayal. Spoilers. Actually, not really spoilers. The game's 30 years old. But that can end up being a very efficient K-main check to go ahead and try to find your progression. Looks like a dancing dagger on Joe's side. Look at Joe even find a way to make Eddie relevant, which is shocking.
Vanilla strats.
Yep, it's an excellent point. In the vanilla game, there's a way to go ahead and you can sleep on top of mist, and then you come in from the other side, and you can actually get a whole bunch of dancing daggers. And Eddie is useful.
So this is another case where the runners are tracing each other's steps now.
Yep, 100%. These early checks, it's interesting because everyone's going to do this, right? Like, unless you are a very famous PK from days past, Fading Fabul isn't necessarily something that people are likely to go ahead and do. Also worth noting, as I'm watching Joe here, Joe did not pick up the Earth Hammer, so that is something that could be relevant later on. But everyone's going to do these early checks, right? You're going to do, at some point, Fabul 1. At some point, you're going to do, ordeals or Baron Inn, or you're going to do Antlion. The routing with which you go ahead and do it is kind of where you might find your early advantage here. So, for example, Joe just got warped, right? So you're going to see Joe kind of warp out of here. So, as Rhybon's walking out and as Joe's warping out, our runners are basically in a tie. The only way to even get any kind of a lead is to, I guess, look at their equipment. Joe's got the Dancing Dagger on Eddie, whereas Rhybon has the Earth Hammer on Sid. But here we are, and I would assume both runners probably headed to Ordeal, so it wouldn't shock me if we're going to Baron in. And Joe, with the knowledge that Palom is there, off we go.
I feel like Fabul can be slotted anywhere in the early game, just depending on how urgent that free heal is before and after the Fabul fight.
Yeah, that's true. I've been seeing more and more runners taking this. I think super traditional routing is you kind of go Antlion, Fabul, Ordeals, and then over to Baron in. That Baron in 2 spot can be pretty nasty. A saving grace of that spot is that the spot is very slow. So if you have a faster hero, you get a lot of turns in. With Sid, that's not going to be the case. But this is a calculated, aggressive move for both of our runners, and I like it. And oh, baby, here we go.
It's the free one.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. If that had been Gauntlet, advantage Rhybon, because that Earth Hammer, it would have taken a while to get to Sid, but the AoE from that Earth Hammer would have done some decent work. Some of the electric fish are flying, so it wouldn't have helped with that too much, but overall, it would have been advantage for Rhybon. But instead, we're basically out of time.
No Senator Crocodiles tonight.
Well, not yet. We can, if there's a parliament on the throne, then maybe we can go ahead and find some Senator Crocodile there. So hope is alive, Chad. Don't worry. All right. So the real reward is Palom.
And a hook.
Oh boy. Well, so that might be our logical underground access. Also, that kind of takes away some of the fun of our mod, because, be unsafe, you're hoping for something gross, not for me, because I'm running it anyway, but since I'm not running it, of course you want to go ahead and have something disgusting. But that kind of takes some of the fun away.
Well, there's 2 bosses between the runners and underground if the hook is the only access.
That is very, very true. You put a DKC in the King-Queen spot, you put an Evil Wall there. We could have an Ogo down there. We can have all kinds of fun stuff. So, you're correct. And we could have some gross bosses there too. So, you are very much correct with that. That's a very good call. So I guess we'll see what happens. Also worth noting that our runners, you can start with either 1 or 2 sirens here. Our runners did start with 2. So, when you have a Palom, best thing you can do is have a pop a siren on the ground, unless you're trying to preserve a slingshot, and you can get Quake pretty early. Another thing that runners like myself like to do is pop a siren up here or 2. You can get 5,500 XP from 2 Lamia chests, and that can get Palom to Virus very quickly, and Virus can really be a game changer.
Meanwhile, we have Kainazo with the first spot on the bridge.
Yep. So this is the lowest physical attack power section of the game. So if you're a runner looking to have a relatively easy time with your run, you're hoping to go ahead and find somebody here that punches, like a Dimps or Mylon Z or something like that. As we see vampires and illusions, those vampires early on in the game like this can be very helpful. And 5 illusions to boot, because we don't have a white mage yet. But Kinatsu here really is not really all that threatening. His wave attack, as most of you probably know, is determined by HP. I think this spot has like 2100 health, maybe a little bit less. So the wave will do 4 to 7% of the remaining HP. And as we see Rhybon taking a few of these boxes here. I know he has charm arrows. The Stalement chest here can be pretty nasty, especially if he puts them to sleep. So this is kind of a bold move, and he takes more chests. It's like, you know what? I'm done pressing my luck. So we're going to get a good look at our hook route character as Joe finishes through Ordeals 1.
Ooh.
Well,
brothers sitting in the caves.
well, I sit here corrected because be unsafe, and unless we've got a magma key hiding around somewhere, either behind this ordeals or a Demus somewhere, that is a really gross, and I mean really gross Golbez blocking underground access.
How about a gross back attack plague?
This might be like the worst spot to find plague, um, like straight up. So this is one of those bosses where maybe having virus is helpful. But what's also helpful is having such a slow hero like Sid. The agility in this second spot is deceptively fast for this part of the game. So if you have a fast hero or if you have equipment where your agility is very high and you run into plague here, it's rough because a lot of ticks go by before you even get a chance to go ahead and act again. However, Joe doing kind of, I think all the strats that we did as kids, right, where you figure out if you knock down one of your heroes and bring him back up, it'll restart the count. There's only 3,000 HP at this spot. Sid is doing work, as Sid often does in the early game, and as characters keep coming back up to life here, I think we're going to be just fine.
Well, plague is actually flying. Without
Yeah,
bow
with the
arrow
animation and
again.
everything.
Yeah.
And that crumble means that Joe has gotten through. Very nicely done by Joe. Because you are correct. Plague here can cause fits. And that's the nice part about seeing this point in the tournament. Runners aren't here by accident. They have incredible know-how and savvy. So when they come across difficult situations, they kind of put on a clinic for the rest of us on how to handle it. So wonderful job by Joe, and I anticipate Rhybon having no problems doing the same.
Yeah, Joe, you save after that.
Yeah, Joe's not a conservative player, so for him to go ahead and save kind of speaks to it. I mean, you could have a Valis here. We know it's not going to be Golbez. Sid's a great hero to bring into the mirror room. There's only 1,000 HP here, and Sid's relatively beefy. But still, no, it's a good safety save on C hero to do that for sure.
Baron Key.
Spicy. Well, that's another character.
And that's a queen.
Do we have mute arrows? We might have mute arrows. We have charm arrows. We have one charm arrow.
Looks like we're going for the light face lock.
I believe you're correct. MJ, do you want to explain how life locking works?
Yep. So, attacking Asura with that stone face and waiting for her to make another move, her AI will be stuck only casting life on herself instead of cure or anything else. So if JudgeJoe can keep her in that stone face, she won't heal herself, and he can actually take her HP down.
Exactly right, and you predicted it, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's through perfectly. So life locking, a very handy skill. If they had had an Elven Bow or Rune Axe or something, it would have gone a little faster. But this is kind of the theme of the tournament, right? It's ZZ6, T Pro, S Pro, kind of hard to get good gear. And when it's hard to get good gear, at that point you have to go ahead and rely on your tech. So excellent job from Joe. I expect no less from Rhybon when we get there. Rhybon taking a 10, which I find to be a little bit curious. I'm not sure if we're looking to go ahead and restore some HP, some magic. Doesn't save after the 10, so he's feeling confident, and he's going to get the ever so fun news about Plague right here.
Yeah. It's when you want full HP on your party.
Yeah, seriously. Because if you're going to be knocking somebody down. And I don't know, does he have the Dancing Dagger? I know he put the Assassin Dagger on to try to get Eddie to go first. I did see the Dancing Dagger, and he went right past it. Those vampires are kind of interesting too, because you can definitely vampire for a set. I think a minimum is like 400 damage there. But it looks like Eddie's going to be killing Palom, and someone's going to bring Palom back up. And in the same way that Joe got through, it looks like Rhybon's going to be getting through as well.
I love the backwards numbers. They crack me up every time I see them.
Yeah, this back attack can have a few things. Or if you ever get like a like karate or Odin, and they either do a kick or a Zentetsuken, and it goes like like kind of like behind the screen, forward and back again. It's pretty fun.
Goes in Baron shot, cleaning up his inventory.
Yep. So that ogre axe is
Oh.
huge. So Baron counts as a gated shop. So a gated shop, which I'm sure a lot of y'all are aware, but just in case you're not, a gated shop means that you need some kind of key item to get to the shop. So whether it's the hook shop in Eblan Town, or it is the Baron shop that we're just in, or anywhere underground, or the item shop up on the moon. And those generally have a higher tier of loot. We are on S Pro, which means that we are on 1 through 3. That cabin might end up being huge for Joe because they are not guaranteed in the seed. But we go all the way up to tier 4. That ogre axe is tier 4. And so is that black belt that we just found. So that's huge as well. Ogre axes are extremely relevant because the Mac Giant grind has become the preferred grind here to get to your final levels. And ogre axes deal great damage to giants. So the fact that they are readily available for sale is a big deal.
Will Joe come back, do you think, after he finds Cecil in the Cave Eblan for another ogre axe, or hoping he spikes something else instead?
Yep. So what's nice is the step manipulation that happens to elicit the Mac Giant grind typically happens right outside of Barrentown. So it's maybe not the most efficient, but you can kind of pop right in there. Also, I had definitely already forgotten it was either Ruby or Elements here. Oh, we saw Ruby, right? This has to be Elements.
No.
Did I make that up? I might have made that up. No, that's Ruby. My bad. I made that up.
Yeah, I don't think we spotted Mist Cave boss. The only other boss that we saw was the Sparkle and Waterfall.
Yeah, you're correct. So, more tech that we have here. Part of Ruby's script is after he does a glare here, he will close his cloak. And while he closes his cloak, chat will be disappointed because his very jacked leg will not be present. But on a relevant level to the runners, the ice damage gets absorbed. Joe, understanding the situation, the agility, and the script, was able to make an assertive decision of when to cast those ice spells, and so we're through before the cloak could even get closed. Again, just another example of one of many that we're going to have tonight of these runners not wasting any time and just understanding exactly how to play this game.
Is that a strength ring I saw in the chest there?
I do believe so. Strength ring, I want to say +5 strength down at the gauntlet. So definitely helpful. We've also got Sid in the center spot. You get some accuracy bonuses for being in the center. Just these little efficiencies all the way. Even just leaving Eddie down, because, well, one, why wouldn't you? But number two, it's kind of a wasted turn, right? Like, how much damage is he really going to be doing? We have tier 2 spells on Palom. We have a Sid that can go ahead and do some work. And we have Cecil. How could you? You were the chosen one. This is free, by the way.
Will he cure? Nope, he won't cure. He'll life one of them.
Yeah, this is going to get Palom close to, if not at Virus. I didn't see what level he was at. I want to say Palom learns Virus at level 17? 17? 18? One of those. So this will kind of get it closer there. The downside to lifing is that we can't do any kind of inventory management here, but the XP makes it absolutely more than worth it.
No virus yet.
And we've got a
Hey,
Yang.
there's Yang.
So, long term, a very, very high level Yang or Yang, not really sure how to say it, can certainly do a lot of work. But early on, not great. He is a wonderful sling target. If you have a white mage that can cast, a berserk spell, but we have no white mages here. Um, Rhybon has Joe has finished the Baron Castle check, and we'll be seeing what the reward is in a bit. Rhybon's behind because he dipped the hook route early. We have a Gungnir for the cane that does not exist. So even when DKC is up there on the Baron throne, we still find a way to have some cane betrayal here, just leaving one of his better weapons there, but no one can go ahead and use it. So what's interesting about that Golbez, in that ruby spot, you have 25,200 HP of health. And sometimes what's helpful is if you can find Golbez in a spot where the magic power is very high. You throw up a Star Veil, and you kind of reflect, and Golbez can basically kill himself with the damage it goes through. That's not going to happen in that spot. Another tactic you can have when you know it's going to be Golbez is you can do things like piggy your party or size your party. And long story short, it allows you to go ahead and throw that Star Veil up with no problem. There's Ogo off the table. You can't do that at the Ruby spot because you start with a full heal. So one thing that Rhybon might want to do is look for Star Veils for sale if we haven't found them already, and maybe load up a little bit, because while those Star Veils do last for a while, they're not going to last forever. It's a really tricky and nasty fight that you have to kind of be thinking off the top of your head. So Joe is through the checks, and they're kind of crisscrossing here. We'll see if Joe aggressively goes to the hook route, which is something that Joe would do. Or if he's going to backtrack and maybe use the Eblan chests for some extra HP.
Now, with a slow Sid, couldn't he try to make Palm a little faster with the Assassin Dagger and try to get an early Venom before Shadow is summoned?
You could, for sure. And maybe drop him down to the battle speed. So in order to be what's called RA1, or Relative Agility 1, you need to be 2.5 times the agility of the anchor plus 1. And while the Assassin Dagger plus 5 is helpful, I don't know that it gets fast enough. One thing that might be doable is with that Eddie. Put the Assassin Dagger on Eddie, you might be able to get a hide off. That's possible. We've also seen both runners do have a Dwarf Axe, and the Dwarf Axe can reduce the agility by 5. So we might be able to see some shenanigans that way, and I'm certain that both of our runners absolutely are completely aware of this as well. But we'll see. I'm very curious to see what Joe does here. Once he sees the news that he congratulations, you have a Paladin Cecil, and congratulations, you asked for this with your Be Unsafe, and there's Golbez, more than likely gating underground access.
Was Joe going to drop the Rydia, you think, then? Maybe? Just for Eddie's agility?
It could be. Chat put up a pretty good point. It is K-Force Magma. So that brings a whole other wrinkle here. Chat, good call, and my apologies. If we're at Force Magma, that means that the hook route is not the intended underground access. So we could have a Demus somewhere, or the Odin Throne could be on the table as well. And we know that Demist is not at Waterfall. We know Demist is not at Mist Cave, because we've checked both of those. Demist could be hiding at Zot 1. Shout out to Rex Banner for basically making that check famous. Could be at the first spot on the hook route. Or we could have something particularly gross down at the Baron basement. So the logic behind it is pretty fascinating, honestly.
Joe is continuing through Upper Babel.
Yep. The equipping of Medusa arrows tells me that we are looking to go ahead and take on the Mad Ogres and try to get a sling on Cecil. You become a paladin and you start over basically at level 1. Rhybon is going to give us a little... Oh, made a liar out of me. He did take a tent and he did save. So he might be checking the free spots that Joe's already checked. And we might be save scumming and then peeking the basement after this. So there's
Cecil's
that.
doing Cecil things. Acro
Yep.
covering.
Yep. We're looking for it looks like that's an assassin dagger that is on radio, trying to get maybe a swoon proc. It's very difficult to do with a slow hero. If we had silk webs and you could throw out the silk web, that would be one way to go ahead and try to increase the accuracy. But if they have some kind of curative to help keep Cecil at a higher HP here, because it is starting to dip a little bit, although that miss is certainly advantageous. It looks like we're going to be in pretty good shape. Which one? We know it's not Plague.
Ooh, the Deus.
Now, here's what I'll say. If we've got Dragoon armor, which, based off of that one, we do. Now, here's my next question. Does that Palom have virus? Because elemental damage is not going to do anything at all. With that Dragoon shield, this is free. It's slow, but it's free. Rhybon very quickly picking up on the logic behind the situation, knowing that the hook cannot gate the access. Sid going into critical health there is like the best possible thing that could possibly happen. So if that Palom has virus and we're bluffing up here, we'll be getting through this, and I am very curious to see what's behind here.
Looks like Joe is keeping in mind the current flag set also, and back on the surface of the world.
Yep. So each one of those bluffs does plus 15 wisdom, and they stack. Even if Palom were to die, which he's not going to. Ooh, are we getting a Rex banner? Or are we shopping? Oh, I want a Rex banner.
Shopping now.
Oh, it's plus 16? Oh, that's plus 15. Ah, well, Ty will correct me in chat. But they stack there. So it looks like this is going to be 5 viruses, and we're through. Because it's, I think it's like just over 20,000 health here. Joe might also be looking for Star Veils to go ahead and take on that Golbez. So it's going to be 5, maybe 6 viruses. Oh, that's a low roll. All right, so we're looking at 6 viruses here. That's 120 HP, or MP, excuse me, which Palom absolutely has. So we're going to get a nice spike in levels for Palom. This might get him close to Quake, if not at Quake. And if this is Magma Key, man, Rhybon just pushing all the right buttons here.
Oh, it's on life pots in Silveria.
Which is huge in this flag set. For life glitching for Mac Giants, or just trying to stay alive here. We have 1 Ether 2, and we're using it. Those are a couple of low rolls for Palom there. I'm a little surprised with all the bluffs, but things happen. Any prediction on what we're going to get here? We're through. Exit. Oh man.
We got XP.
Wait, so that means it has to be Demus, right? For the Magma Key? It's got to be either Zot 1 or Hook 1? Oh, that's wild. That is wild. And launching the Falcon's not even an objective, which can happen on this flag set, right? So, because that again, that Golbez is so gross. But if it's like, well, it's an objective anyway. Let's go ahead and fight through. So Rhybon has some information. So where's he going? He's saving here. He's got cover strats set up. That Ether 2's got some stuff up there. Rex, Banner, here we come. Rhybon understanding the flags. And let's see where Joe goes next. This is fascinating. I love everything about this. Answer a question in chat? Yes. Hook 1 can absolutely have Demus. 1,000,000%. So it looks like Joe's choice of DPS has shifted over from Sid over to Cecil. I'm not sure how I feel about this. With the weaponry being limited on S Pro and T Pro, one of Cecil's greatest strengths is the fact that he can go ahead and be a cover bot. If you're leaning on him for offense, now to be fair, there's no one to berserk him, so it's like, we can still go ahead and cover, as Joe's doing what Rhybon did and going underground. I love it. I love it so much. I'm not sure that I really love Cecil being the primary attacker here. Because Sid's pretty beefy. Sid can do some work, especially with the gear they have. There he is. There's Demus. So this spot is pretty slow, even with a Sid hero. We might be able to one-cycle this, maybe. Depends on how much damage we can kind of do here. And if you want to talk efficiency, just to make sure that he doesn't have to go ahead and cycle through Sid's turn, and knowing that Sid's going to get the XP anyway, Rhybon goes ahead and just knocks him down, just to go ahead and to save the turn time. So this is definitely going to be a 2-cycle here at a minimum. There's 9,000 HP here, and we're about to go ahead and turn to Mist. But with the time here, we can go ahead and keep bluffing if we want to go ahead and raise that Wisdom stat. But it looks like Rhybon is good with where it's at, and feels confident that we can go ahead and get Demus down to the second spot. Now, to be clear, it's not necessarily going to lead to magma directly. It can, and I guess it likely could, but it could also be Twin Harp, which would be an objective and music for chat, or the ultimate troll, which I'm very much hoping for, is that it leads to Earth Crystal. I hope that our runners, quote-unquote, had to go to Zot, beat Demus, leave Zot, turn in Demus, get the Earth Crystal, and then go back to Zot to get the Magma Key. That would be hilarious.
Or Zot gives the Twin Harp, which then gives the Magma Key.
I like the cut of your jib, MJ. That's my kind of stuff right there.
Right. Nothing like parking next to Troya several times in the same seat.
Yeah. Huh? Or Rat Tail. Oh yeah, that's a good point too. We're getting a peek at the characters and the boss. So that's a quorum up there, and Palm says, "Sorry, sis, not today." And that Val is at a very generous spot. So that means we're going to find Val over at Dwarf 2. Valis' main issue is that in so many spots, either the attack power is lessened when she's in the whirlwind, or you can't really use any magic effectively. That's not the case with Dwarf 2. So that Val is not even remotely a concern, which is also relevant to an extent on this flag set. All right, chat. What do we think? Put your predictions in chat. What are we gonna get? Magma Key directly? Getting Twin Harp? Are we getting Rat Tail? Are we getting Zot? Are we getting Earth Crystal? Those are probably our 4 options: Rat Tail, Magma, Harp, or Earth Crystal. Any last minute prediction, MJ?
I feel like it's going to be the Magma Key just because whenever we want fun, we get not fun.
Let's see what we get here today. It is the Twin Harp. Oh. Ooh, all right. So that's an objective. It's a nasty objective. Nasty way to get the objective. And it might mean that this chain might keep going and going. Because that harp could lead to magma, or it could lead to Zot, or it could lead to the Rat Tail. So we can have a whole bunch. So while we're getting set up for music over here, also I think Rhybon has characters down also, so that works out really well for him. We have Joe. Joe's Paladin fight is going to be quite a bit slower. He's not leaning completely in on Palom doing Virus. We also have attacks. That power punch that Yang is doing is not going to go ahead and elicit any kind of slow counter. But it looks like Joe does not have the Dragoon Shield that Rhybon has, which means we're relying on these illusions. So even though it's going to take longer, as we see using a Lilith Rod to get HP, or excuse me, MP here, so that's a little scary. He's pressed for time to cut down this Paladin in as few turns as possible, and that might not always be the same as the time that you put in. but when those illusions run out, we might be in a little bit of trouble here because this spot can punch. So, Joe, a little bit on the clock, if you will.
The slow duding clock.
So, Rhybon
This is the
putting
time
the...
that we just make a bunch of noise, right?
I believe it's a exclamation. If you're ever in my chat, we got the exclamation point doot. J-Mac the librarian. Shout out to J-Mac. Wonderful person, great runner. Kind of made famous her rendition of the. Oh, MJ, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but since you are new to commentary, I think I should point out that what we do is we talk over it the whole time, and we don't let chat listen to the music in any capacity.
I'm here for this too.
So while you're listening to music, folks, we'll shush over here. Keep an eye also on Joe. We're out of illusions, so we'll see if he can go ahead and persevere. All right, a little scary there. Great job for Rhybon getting through. Let's see what the item is, and then we'll talk about the fight. There is our magma key. Nothing like a former tournament champion and a forced magma key getting underground access at 44 minutes in. Am I right, MJ?
I just can't get over how cute it was. Rydia trying to help with her little 1 damage lit cast.
I mean, as someone who has a adorable daughter at home, it kind of warms the heart there a little bit. So there were a few things going on in that fight. Number one, notice that Rhybon chose to slow down Sid by putting on the Dwarf Axe, as he's going to do some of the shopping that Joe already did, which is curious, and it really didn't pay off terribly well in that particular spot when you consider the fact that Odin's on a time for that Zetetsuken. Also, the magic power is very the magic defense is through the roof there. So we saw the Lit 2 kind of permeate through a little bit, but when your primary DPS is going to be someone like Palom casting Quake, that's rough. We did see an Eddie get hidden there. I wonder if we might have seen some Thunderstruck attempts if the Zentetsuken had killed. But fortunately, some of the characters were beefy enough to go ahead and eat it. Rhybon's heading underground, and Joe is realizing the very, very, very good news.
I was wondering if maybe Eddie was hiding just to play emergency chemist, if that Zantetsuken was enough to wipe the board.
It's very possible, 100%. That's a very real, that's a very heads up, very astute point. Sometimes during a Z fight, I might have Eddie go ahead and hide for that exact reason. It's very rare we can find an actual purpose for Eddie, so and that's one that exists.
haven't found Spoon yet.
No. We also haven't found a white mage yet. I'm curious to see where Rhybon goes first. If it's me, I'm heading straight to Dwarf Castle for two reasons. Number one, you're going to go ahead and get a glow up on Rydia. With one of the more recent tweaks that we had, Bahamut became a tier 6 summon and became one that you can get from visiting Dwarf Castle. And if you can get Bahamut on Rydia, all of a sudden your power goes through the roof. And number two, I really want a white mage. It's a little less likely that you'll find one because we did find Porum in Zot 1. Rhybon does have that knowledge. And while, yes, dupes do exist on this flag set, it's not terribly likely. But it looks like Rhybon's heading straight for the Feymarch and for the freebie.
3 dupes in a seed possible, right?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
I don't see Giant of Babel being a goal, so not seeing that one very likely.
Nope. I think it's likely that we'll see our runners head there for grinding, especially with the mages that we found. But yeah, you're correct. There is, especially with no Demus, there is, I'm going to say a 0% chance that we see either one of our runners do the Giant. And Rhybon showing off why you go ahead and check your freebies. There's your Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, this just got very spicy.
Oh, look at that Feymarch. Oh man, I don't think I could exit out of that fast enough. Baigan at the king spot, Evil Wall at the queen spot. That is disgusting. And that's a no for me, dog. That is nope. That is not gonna happen anytime soon.
Nothing like putting physical bosses in boss spots that aren't known for their physical attacks.
Yeah.
I had that attack stat jacked up.
And that Evil Wall is at a very, very, very speedy spot as well. That is rough. So we have Rhybon setting up Sheila 1. I don't think we're going to be seeing either one of our runners looking for 10 key outs before we grind. I think we're going to be seeing Rhybon setting up a a Mag Giant grind as quickly as possible. Here's what I find interesting about this, right? So, of the objectives we have left, a lot of them, this happened to me last night, a lot of them are terminal items, right? Forge, Legend Sword, Adamant, terminal. Package, terminal. Sand Ruby, terminal, right? The only non-terminal objective that isn't found on the moon is the Rat Tail. And when you're looking at the breakdown of like what's more likely to be where, terminal key items are more likely to be on the moon. Now, K-Main, generally speaking, traditionally has more progression. But when you have 3 objectives on the moon and terminal key items are more likely to be on the moon, my expectation is that you're going to see both of these runners grind and then full clear that moon.
Yeah, these are the only things available right now. We have, top of tower. We could dive Luca, see what's there. Or there's King Queen. That's all that we have on the planet still, right?
Yeah. Top of tower. You've got, top of tower, Luca Key, which I forgot about. We've seen, do we even see Shield 1?
Dwarf.
And Dwarf Castle, yeah. So, it's definitely interesting. Rhybon checking the character, and I do believe that we need to shush in just a moment over here again for a rendition of, I think chat said Final Fantasy 2. So we hope that you all enjoy. Well, that Thunderclaw made it go a little faster, huh?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So Joe gets his underground access. Rhybon picks up Yang to go ahead and sling. Finds silk gloves for sale, and I'd be very curious to see how many Mac Giants we do here. Neither Black Mage is slingable, I don't think. I gotta take another look at the levels here. But it seems like the only one that's gonna get slung is gonna be Yang here. Rhybon also maybe for life bots. Oh, you said they were in Silvera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rhybon's gonna go ahead and find those. Maybe we check Sheila 1 as well. Comment in chat is a very good point. We do have 2 sirens. Is that going to be enough XP to go ahead and set up a sling? And the answer is I have absolutely no idea. Ridius only at level 16. You know what, Jazer? I think you're right, man. So we'll see if that happens. And then we'll get a double sling on both Yang and Rydia. If that's the case, we're probably looking at an 8x8. So, or are we there already? 16 to 21. We might already be at that sling. That might already be set up on Rydia, which is just ridiculous efficiency. I mean, it's absurd.
Like they planned it.
Yeah, it's almost like he's really good at the game, right?
Oh, vanilla pan.
Well, I mean, if you're going to burn the sirens, if you want to burn, I mean, you got to go down there anyway, right? So,
Yep.
if this...
It's literally right outside.
I don't know. We'll see if he turns it in or not. I wonder if a part of him was tempted not to even bother. But it does look like we are headed back on the ground. So we'll see if a siren gets cracked. Even if it doesn't further the sling a little bit, it might give him maybe an extra multiplier, maybe a little extra defense. Because don't forget, we don't have blink. Rhybon might have bought some of those illusions. We also, I don't know if Rhybon bought Cure 2s or Cure 3s either. So if we're relying entirely on Cecil for Cure 2 casting and whatever defensive gear he has on, a few more levels might actually be a little advantageous there. So I'd be very curious to see what happens next with the Panbonk.
White Mage Cecil, maybe, is what you're saying?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's... Tybalt had mentioned in chat earlier that if we find an Asura summon, that could be, a nice white mage 2/3 of the time. As we find a black shirt, which is not terribly useful here. Joe found some fun.
Oh man.
I gotta tell you, with Darkness in hand, this would be a very tempting reset for me. Unless he's trying to get the levels to set up a sling, but we do have both sirens in hand. I'm not sure. Oh, Joe didn't go to the Fairwatch yet.
Yeah.
So Joe is doing what I had anticipated doing, which was to go ahead and try to get Rydia powered up here.
All that for a dragon whip.
Which, not for nothing, could shoot some eggs. And speaking of eggs, let's see what we do here.
Oh.
Alright, looks like he did buy a stack of Cure 2s, so that should go ahead and help with the grind a little bit. And he's going so fast, I cannot... We're getting Rydia up. Interesting. And we're leaving Palom down. So we're going to try to go ahead and get the sling onto Palom here. This is a level of play that I don't have. To understand like how much XP can happen where. This is beyond my scope. But this is one of those things that can really, really, really help if you have a clear understanding as to, you know, when you can sling, when you can't. Ew. And so now we're trying to go
I
ahead
think
and
he was just
sling
using.
both black
I
mages.
think he was using Rhybon to stop.
Interesting. So it looks like we're going to be trying to set up a double sling on both black mages here. And Yang's going to get slung right now, which means that you'll have some Power Punch Thunder. So you have three characters with Ogre Axes, or three characters that can hurt the Mech Giants. One of whom can do Power Punches and potentially get doubles, and then the other two with Ogre Axes that can do damage. So not only... This might be like your perfect grind, because you're slinging two black mages potentially if the XP works out, which just trusting Rhybon as I do, I'm assuming that it will. So that's number one. And number two, the Mech Giants are going to go down quickly because everyone can do damage. This is fantastic for Rhybon. Just an absolute clinic. So, I'm sure he's going to check the menu to check our levels. No, Rhybon just knows what he's doing. And outside the Baron we go for the Manip. I don't know if he's going to need an extra Ogre Axe or not, if he has it. The Earth Hammer is going to do work already. And I'm pretty sure we have a Thunder Claw. And I'm not really sure what we're equipped with. But yeah, those levels are very high up. So really good job. Meanwhile, Joe finds Edge, and Edge is not a bad find.
But Joe says no thanks.
Okay. So I think that was 4 steps, which means if he takes 1 step and finds it... No. Okay. So from here on out, Rhybon needs to go ahead and run from 2 more encounters. And then the first encounter on the chest of the giant will be the grind. Despite how long it's taking for Rhybon to get another encounter over here, goodness gracious. That's actually pretty decent luck that he only has to run away from a couple here. That was an absurdly long time to to wait for an encounter to run. So 1 more to run from, and then off to the giant we go.
How convenient. That last tile was right on top of the airship.
So to answer a question in chat, looks like the median is either 28 or 26. Oh, okay. Well, Helm will get slung, but I think we can probably still anticipate an 8x8 here. I don't necessarily see Rhybon going all the way to Nuke, although I've been wrong every step of the way here, so who knows. And I completely missed... did anyone catch what the reward was for Joe to go through Dwarf?
And Ruby.
Oh, Sandru's an objective. And it's another character. Maybe it's White Mage. So that's a good call. Also, I completely missed whatever summons Rydia may or may not have gotten. The summons are a little less relevant if you're just going to go ahead and grind anyway, but still.
So also cracking a couple eggs. And Rhybon found a searcher.
Yeah. Alright, so the Hermes acts as a double slow. Rhybon's one of the characters that will go ahead and do this. You don't see them used very often. It's kind of a bit of an obscure tech here. But we are speeding up our characters that are going to be doing the most damage. Cover strats are enabled, so I'll be very curious to see how much damage Cecil ends up taking here. And it looks like we'll be using stop as well. Another thing to watch for is, will we get doubles with the delay in the power punch? You can actually set up for double life glitches sometimes. Let's see how much damage Yong's actually doing here.
Ooh, we got Odin slicing up that egg.
Yeah, you called it. Odin's going to come in handy, and it absolutely did.
That also gets XP on Joe's entire party.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Joe didn't want to grind and just wanted to go. Kind of, obviously, if we're taking an egg, we're grinding. But if he wanted to go ahead and forego a Mac Giant grind, it wouldn't shock me knowing Joe as I do. I could see Joe looking at 3 moon objectives, going, "Oh, that would be my XP," and we're good to go. Especially with getting that sand ruby, because we are, we're one from go here.
And there's still many free bosses still out on the table.
Mm-hmm. Although, as Joe will find, not not that famous.
Not in Feymarch.
Yeah. The extra walking on the tiles tells me that he's setting up cover strats, that he took an egg or two to go ahead and possibly take on the Feymarch. Even for Joe, this is not a delightful Feymarch to take. So, maybe he will. Joe's a while. There's nothing. There's not a single play that exists in all Free Enterprise that Joe could take that wouldn't shock me, in the slightest. But we'll see. Those Q3s are great. Meanwhile, Rhybon is cooking, getting through these Mac Giants quite quickly. I don't think he's been able to get any doubles. Yang just not kitted out enough, not enough levels to go ahead, not enough strength boosting gear to go ahead and really facilitate that. But that being said, really nice use of the Hermes to get the DPS characters going faster, and they are going down pretty quick. So it might be 1+1 at a time instead of 1+2, but they're still going down very quickly. Oh, he's getting ready. He's getting ready. He's gonna do it.
He's gonna try it.
I love him so much. All right. I mean, you don't even have Berserk. You don't have Blink. I mean, maybe he got Bahamut from Dwarf. I don't really see it yet. All right, Joe. Joe, you mad lad. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? Are you doing it? Are you doing it? Oh, he's thinking about it. Oh, look at the little sprite going back and... I love Joe so much. If this has Rat Tail, enormous. Enormous. I think the biggest issue with Viking is that cover strats don't work because of the vampires.
Right.
Well, here we go. Oh, baby. This spot is quick. We're not bluffing at all. So 23,000 health to cut through here. I'm very curious to see if Joe has a stack of heals as well. So he did slow anchor, which is huge. We've got Poison Axe, rough accuracy, but he is in the center as Rhybon continues to grind. I don't think Riddy got anything terribly game-breaking if she's acting as a chemist right now.
Looks like it.
Yeah, or Joe maybe just reading the HP for what it is, understanding that we have to heal, because if Cecil goes into critical, then he won't be able to cover anybody else.
And then fast boss goes faster.
Correct. And reset button goes real fast when you push that down. Yeah, so it looks like we're in a pretty decent rhythm here. I am curious about the heal pot situation. Cecil does no heal. So that mitigates some of the concern. Every time a spell is cast, or if a soap glove goes out, or anything really magically related in general, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get a Petrify cast in response. Rhybon stopping the Searcher on his end, which means that his grind is done, so we'll have to go ahead and take a look at the levels over there to see how far he went. A real pivotal moment here. Also, did Joe check the freebie? I don't have the... Let me check his tracker.
Yeah, he got the darkness.
He did get the darkness, okay. So I expect Cecil to heal himself with his next turn, because that stone is getting higher and higher. Oh boy. That's a little scary.
If he doesn't, someone should.
Yep. It's be a good time for a heal cast here. Or a heal pot. Because that is a quake that's called up here.
No, he's going for it.
Oh boy, here we go. This is where things get very scary. And there goes your biggest source of damage right now. So,
Oh.
I will say that that was calculated, because he made a choice to aggressively go through and had Rydia shift gears to drop a virus, and that is a tower key. So, super cannon not one of our objectives, but if you're going to have this level of divergence, as we see, Hallam does not have nuke yet. He's only at level 46. However, we do have 3 moon objectives, so I don't know if that's going to get him the nuke, but it's going to get close. I feel like you have to follow it, right? Like you're trying to do the thing that your opponent's not doing. So I think we can fully. Is Joe taking on Bigan?
You can only hope.
Is Joe healing up to take on Bigan? What? Okay, now. Okay.
Now it's Hallam missing that 10.
Or did he drop a save down there in case the tower is Buckus and then he wants to take on Bigan afterwards? I don't know. I guess I'll find out. Meanwhile, we know that Rhybon will not be finding the Sand Ruby, as Joe found that in Dwarf. Rhybon will be able to complete 3 more objectives immediately for certain between the Crystal Sword, the Ribbon Room, and the White Spear. He will be looking for the Package, Forge, and the Rat Tail in his endeavors to go ahead and clear out the moon.
Wouldn't it be wild if Tower Key has one of those?
It would be huge. It would be enormous. The most likely of those, I suppose, would be the Rat Tail, but certainly any of them are possible. You know, the fact that we know where Sand Ruby is, like mathematically and objectively, I think what Rhybon's doing is correct. I think it's 100% the right play. We, over here in the booth, we have the knowledge that one of those pieces of Go Mode is not going to be up there. So, very curious to see what happens.
Rat into Package is what I'm hoping for.
We'll see. Chat put a very good point. With Cecil petrified from that fight, he couldn't cast Exit, so they had to heal him up to go ahead and be able to do that. So that's an excellent point from chat. Are we pain grenading or are we going to the top? We're going to the top.
Going to the top.
So, top of tower was. Oh, we didn't do the hook route, so we don't know. Joe's doing a save. I agree with this. Rhybon heading to the Crystal Sword for the first of 3 required altars. While we have a little bit of time before our runners pop up, please give everyone a follow. If you don't watch either of these runners run, you should. Rhybon and Joe are wonderful to listen to, and as you can all tell, amazing to watch. Our buddy MJ doing a wonderful job here in the booth, as we have some very free dimps for Joe, though we'll go down very quickly. We have Tybalt, huge part of our community here, doing our tracking, and NG Dave, wonderful runner of all kinds of games, many of which I get the privilege of seeing on display during some multi-worlds from time to time. So please give everyone a follow. We'd really appreciate it. And speaking of free bosses,
a free boss who still hits hard.
Yeah, we want we want Rydian. If you're a fan of Rhybon, you want Rydian not to get kind of plunked here, because once that second kick happens, we'll see an attack, and then the script happens. Everyone lives. Everyone gets the XP. It's gonna be around like 61,000 ish, something along those lines.
Joe tried for the off-slot Odin on Dimps and failed.
Yeah, that will happen from time to time. So, an objective down for Rhybon, but that is not progression. Joe going for another attempt over to go ahead and take out these dimps. Now, JP, technically Rydia can equip that because Rydia is still a child over on Rhybon's side, so...
Hey, we got him.
We got him. Alright. Second try, first try. Works every time. So we're looking for package, we're looking for parts of forge, or we're looking for rat tail. If one of those is here, that is enormous for Joe. That's less enormous. Although it would have been a good way to kill the Temps. So we have, we'll find out what we get from the super cannon at the end. We'll have a little cutscene. So that'll be another pivotal moment in this race. Meanwhile, Rhybon's going to start to clear out the moon here. We have one objective done, and we're heading to the Rhybon room, which is one of our spots as well. Gross.
Ooh, there he is.
Mm-hmm. So, we'll be able to get one nuke off here without... Oh, we won't. Oh, that's right. So with the... Oh, that's speedy, too. So with the... Yeah, I think we're going to see a Dwarf Axe go on Sid if it's not there already. Maybe a Battle Speed drop down. So, one of the modifiers that happens with Be Unsafe is... Instead of going from Witchburn, where you can see all kinds of fun things happen, it goes to a Wyburn, which means that wall cast gets out very quickly. So we might see a direct new cast happen right away, and then someone get a veil up so we can reflect them.
Silk Web might help.
Yeah, Soak Up's huge.
Power Key has the pass. That's
It's not nothing. Nope, because Rhybon's going to have to come back to Earth to finish objectives. And now that we know where the pass is, that means that Rhybon is going to have to then go down the LST again. So it's a good 3 or 4 minutes to go ahead and walk down there. This is a little tricky on Rhybon's side. Not insurmountable. The nukes are not... no one single nuke is really going to kill anyone. It's 42,000 HP at the spot, which is clearly quite a bit. Reflecting the nukes is going to eat into that significantly. And getting that silk web off is really quite huge. Also, when we have, if we get to the part of the script where there's a recovery, when the wall has worn off the wyvern, I want to say it's 10% of the health, so I'm going to see like 4,200 HP come back. So this fight's a little gross, and this might take a little bit of time, but Rhybon has done all the things to put himself in position to go ahead and take out the wyvern as quickly as possible.
Oh. Can you target Cecil with that nuke? Young?
I mean, Brittany's gonna live. Oof. Brittany's got her dodging shoes on today. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but Young has a wall. And if she... Yep.
Oh, the rare miss menu. It does say on Rhybon's stream that he's currently on hotel internet and he's on his gaming, he's on his gaming computer. He's on a laptop right now. So I'm gonna chalk that up to kind of changing the system a little bit.
Joe finds our dragoon who jumped to the moon.
Mm-hmm. And something tells me that dragoon will not be joining our party. Joe did not grind. Is he just heading down? Is he just doing Joe things? He's just doing Joe things. So, this is very interesting. So, Rhybon to head the grind, right? So, for example, the fight that we're watching right now at the Rhybon room, advantage Rhybon, because without nuke, this thing takes forever. Joe's not going to have nuke. So, a fight like this that Rhybon has right now is exactly what Rhybon needs to counteract Joe's aggression. Of course, Joe's going to have no serious problems with Crystal Sword because he can probably find a way for Cecil to go ahead and survive. But for Joe to get through this wyvern, it's gonna be tough. We might be looking at like reflecting mega nukes back after a summon gets cast. I'm not sure what his plan will be at the time, but it's going to be very tricky for him to do without the grind. So it looks like Joe's a little bit ahead because he's going to catch up on the objectives.
Ooh.
Okay, well there's half a forge. That's significant. And that Earth Crystal could have, who knows? And we've already done half of the fight, and we know there's a White Mage there. Although Rhybon will not be taking any more characters after his grind's already done. So that's another objective for Rhybon. He's up to 3 out of 5, but again, does not have that Sand Ruby. And also, I don't see him ever getting that Sand Ruby behind the Evil Wall at the Queen spot. Maybe he does some cleanup when he feels like he needs to do things that other runners didn't do, but that's not terribly likely.
So going straight to White Spear.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. He set it for cover strats, but that's not going to fly, so I expect a pretty quick reset here, and that'll give him some time to think about it. Oh, Sandra was dwarf. I'm sorry, Jess, you're correct. Tower key was from the queen spot, which led to the pass. Thank you, chat, for pointing out that I'm a scrub. Appreciate you. So Rhybon fighting an annoying fight more than anything else. Rhybon's got a Thunderclaw, so it'll go a little faster, and Joe has that Thunderclaw as well. But the fight just takes a little bit of time. Rhybon is
And
nuking
Joe will
the
be missing some XP on that one too.
Yeah, yes he will. So we have Veils going up, and that works until until the reflected nukes start to go ahead and take you down one by one. So what I'm expecting to see here is a well, that Silco's not going to work with the wall up. Joe's going to realize that real quick. I'm expecting Rydia to go ahead and kind of cast a summon here, and then you'll see a Mega Nuke reflected back. But for 42k, this is going to be a little rough. Rydia does not go down. That's very good news. We got some life pot roulette going on to get people up. Looking for not Rydia. Also not Rydia. We're looking for Cecil to survive here, and he does. And then Joe realizing even for him, that's too much. And that's no mode for us up here in the booth. Rat Tail is very good news for Rhybon. So now Rhybon's looking for either a Legend Sword or a package to go ahead and be and go.
While we're here, he must be going down to Masamune. Yep.
What's interesting is if, let's see, we got, I'm trying to think of ways that Joe can get to go mode without having to do that ribbon room. I guess if he finds package up here, then he'll be in good shape. But that's well,
that's gross.
if Joe wants to grind, let me tell you something. CPU grind here it's a thing. It's absolutely a real thing. With no, and Rhybon pieces out, with no berserk, with no reflecty floaty, with none of that. That's kind of nasty. Rhybon making a very strong decision, saying nope. I've got a rat tail and I have other checks. Maybe I can go ahead and find go mode elsewhere. So the rat tail will almost certainly be checked first, and then there's a school of thought that says, well, I got the Earth Crystal from the moon, so let's go ahead and check the Earth Crystal. There are still 2 remaining key items that will get him there. The Legend Sword and the package. We know that the Sand Ruby will not be behind Zot, but it does put Dwarf Castle back on the table because he is back on Earth.
With Joe having to pass, he might be more inclined to get those last 2 spots checked on the moon, and maybe that will hide what we're looking for.
It's possible. So Joe finds the good news here. Let's see what the rat tail has. This is a big moment right here. That's go mode.
Oh, so much for that.
Oh my goodness. So Rhybon making a shrewd, aggressive decision to go ahead and not do the Menacing Altar right away. Now that we know that it's go mode, we might see... oh no, Rhybon's just going to go. He's just going to go back down and he's done. So, Rhybon pushing all the right buttons, as we often see him do. Oh look, it's a wet mage that we're never going to take.
She knows exit.
She does, but so does Cecil. Actually, no, she doesn't. Neither one of our runners finished that.
Oh, that's true. We have blue burning water puddles.
Yeah, I don't know what that's from.
The water puddles are Kainazo when he's appearing and disappearing.
That could be it. So this Z fight's interesting because we don't have anyone to Zerk, and Hallam's not at Nuke. I wonder if we're going to be seeing the occasional monster box or two, because if you get levels on Palom that way, great. We're at over 10 key items, so it's likely. And number two, should you happen to go ahead and spike a Holy Sword along the way, that's not exactly the worst thing. On T-Pro, it's a little less likely to get a Tier 8 that way, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Just watching Joe to see how he does with Wyvern this time. He's had time to think about it.
Yeah. Might have slowed down the battle speed here. It looks like he has a little more time, or maybe he got the Silk Web off first. So we're hoping for not Radia here. If you're a fan of Joe, that's actually the best possible target because I believe he bought a stack of Cure 3, so you can get Cecil back up to eat one of those. And there's the Cure 3 going out right now. And the more characters that the Mega Nuke reflects off of, the stronger the Mega Nuke will be. So I think we're looking at more than likely quad 9s here. So we're going to need, what, like 4 of these? And we also need the Veils to go ahead and hold up. So, good start. Good start for Joe. And we're getting some pretty nice chip damage here from the melees and as well as from Palom. Yang in the back row is probably not what Joe wanted to have happen. And I can guarantee... Oh, look at her walk that off.
Oh.
Radia. Goodness gracious. We're not messing around. We're getting the Cure 3 on there right away. So... meanwhile, Rhybon walking down. We'll see if any chests are taken on the way. Or if he feels good. We have a slow hero that we can go ahead and kind of control. And you do have 3 very beefy chemists. Oh, do we still have our sirens? Oh, we're just taking random encounters. So on floor 4, I think a relatively common encounter to get are 2 gold dragons. And we don't get that, but we do get a decent box here. So we should be able to life glitch this warlock, which we will. And then if we have a fire claw, that D-Bone's going to go down real quick. We do, in fact, have a Fire Claw.
All the elements.
Yeah, so probably got like 90,000-ish here. Not sure what the D-Bones have. I know the 3 Warlock Siren up here is like 200k when you life glitch. So probably looking at a pretty healthy amount here, and it might be enough to go ahead and get Palom the Nuke. Meanwhile, getting the crystal higher up in the inventory. Palom celebrates his eventual level to nuke.
Nope, it's medium.
Yes, that's level 51. Means we are 1 level away. We're gonna keep walking to go ahead and get encounters, and that's good enough. We probably know weak, which we do. I don't know that the nuke cast we guaranteed to kill, but weak will. This week is not guaranteed to hit, I don't think. But hopefully it does. For Rhybon's sake, it does. And Virus will kill. And I believe that's going to be enough to go ahead and get Palom the Nuke. And this fight just got a whole lot easier.
There it is. So 2 black mages and 3 chemists, looks like.
Yep, which is and a nice slow anchor too. I think the Dwarf Axe is on, so it looks like a 16 agility Civ, which is not insurmountable in the slightest. So we're getting our turn order set so that it's nice and predictable. We're on battle speed 3, and counters are off. And if I had to guess, Rhybon will not be saving. I anticipate Rhybon just walking straight on down.
That's it. We're done now, right? Game's over.
I think so. And you know what's great is that during this entire time, not one person has fallen asleep during our commentary. No one has snored. No one has nothing in chat to indicate that anyone's bored. It's been great. You gotta, I mean, for your first time doing commentary, you gotta feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, there it is.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what Tybolt's dreaming about there, but that's I guess we're kind of approaching free enterprise after hours over here.
He's being cheeky.
Yeah. Well, my friend, as this is your first time on comms, I believe it is your legal duty, I haven't checked the law, to explain why we have these Z flags in chat.
Well, you see, Zemus is a load-bearing boss. He can't be moved or else the game will just collapse. So rather than move him around and put him in the pool with the other bosses, the decision was made to change how he looks. So out of what, 1,210,000,000 or so sprites?
Give or take a few, yeah.
We're going to see whose butt we might be kicking tonight.
Very, very nicely done, my friend. And then, of course, there's all the ancillary questions of does it have a hat? And does it do taxes? And is it cute? And yada, yada, yada. But also, I was so enthralled with your delivery. Did Rhybon save or did he walk it down? I don't even know.
He just walked.
Yeah. The dude he's cool, calm, and collected. You know, some people just have like ice water in their veins all the time because they know they can execute, and he's just one of those. Like a wonderful runner. So, meanwhile, Joe is working his way through. He did get through that ribbon room. He has just gotten through that crystal sword. Did he take out the white spear also? He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, so he is at 4 out of 6 now. Very nice for him. 16 agility, battle speed 3. Rhybon organizing his characters in order of agility. Your priority order goes in the middle, the very top, the very bottom, and then where Palom is and where Sid is. So we have a nice predictable turn order. Have some reflecting nukes. We might have a silk web go out. We might have a direct nuke for the first nerf. But it is unlikely that we see any more than one Big Bang appear. And oh my lord in heaven, what is that thing?
Galdermus.
So, Rhybon pretty quickly. Yeah, it is gross. Yeah, so Rhybon with a rare miscue did go for that first nuke a little too quickly, and so it didn't quite land. Same with Palom's. So that's a little, that's about 16 to 18,000 of anticipated HP that we're not getting. It's not really that big of a problem. I think we're going to see Yang here throw maybe a punch. I don't know if we have time to go ahead and life him up, as well as cure him up. So after the Big Bang, we might be seeing Palom come back up then. But with this, oh no, we're going for it. We have time. We're in good shape. Hopefully that's not the last Cure 3. So we've lost quite a bit of DPS between the two nuke misfires and then Palom being the unfortunate target of that counter nuke. Meanwhile, we see Joe deciding to grind now on the moon. And not using the step manipulation from Baron, but rather banking on the 12.5% chance that you're going to go ahead and find the Mac Giant grind right here in the chest. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that, but we'll also keep an eye on how this fight is going for Rhybon.
First Big Bang happened and nerfed as expected.
And a reminder, we have no white mages here, so casting Cure 4 is not really on the table. The Silk Web did get off, so they'll have a little more time. And it looks like we're down to Cure 2s. We are out of Cure 3s, though. That was the last one used. Rhybon is also going to have to keep track of the damage. Right now we're trying for reflex strats. For those of you that might not be aware, as it looks like Joe has potentially found the grind fight over there relatively quickly. Basically, long story short, is that while when Zerus hits 45,000 HP of damage, he's supposed to go ahead and reset, but that's expecting that you attack him directly. As long as you don't hit that tipping point of 45,000 with direct damage, then he'll never tip, and then when he gets to 61,000, he dies. He'll die much faster. So, for a while, Rhybon was doing some chip damage with some attacking to kind of get there a little bit faster. That has stopped, so Rhybon has to keep track of the damage going through. Rhybon has to keep track of the HP of his mages, so that the Cure 2s can go into the spots. This Big Bang is not gonna. It is gonna go off, and it is not gonna be nerfed, which means we're gonna see some high totals. It's very likely that we're sitting on Sid's turn specifically to go ahead and get one of the mages up again, and then possibly get another another Starveil off. Because once the second Big Bang happens, we are gonna have another Big Bang. We are gonna have a black hole, which will take away the Starveils. So let's see if the mages dance or die or dodge or die. They have chosen death. So at this point, we are now waiting for the black hole to go ahead and happen. So now you can go ahead and throw up a new Starveil. It'll be interesting to see if he's been keeping track, if Palom is going to be enough to go... Oh, no, we're doing it direct. The last shot can be direct. So either this kills and GG's to Rhybon, or it doesn't kill and we are in some trouble. But how could you possibly doubt the champ himself? Rhybon, GG's, taking game 1 of this matchup with an absolute masterclass on Free Enterprise for 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 36 seconds, taking game 1 of this very, very, very exciting matchup.
At the very same time, Joe finishes his grind.
So when Joe turns on that rat tail, he'll be getting very, very good news regarding the package. So he is in go and possibly doesn't even know it. So I guess we'll be finding out if we're going to be getting Rhybon in for an interview. I do know that he is in a hotel room right now, so that might be a little bit difficult. But if he can join us, great. And by the ding, say his name and he appears. I forget what streamer's been saying that, but I love the Joe Hendry reference. We are joined by today's champion. GG's, Rhybon.
Hi, Joe. Hi, John. How's it going?
It's going. How's the laptop?
It is small, difficult to see, and apparently didn't drop frame, so I'm pretty happy about that one.
Well, there you go. With my internet, my stature, and my eyesight, you just described me in 3 different ways. GG's on the race. How did you feel about the seed?
I felt behind the entire time.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, that magma key was so darn buried. That gold bed on the hook route was very tempting, and I'm like, Joe probably did that. Joe probably dove the hook route. He didn't follow this gigantic chain. He probably didn't do barren basement to find just a samurai helmet. And yeah, I felt a little less behind once it turned out that Deus had a twin harp, which was an objective, so that was a little bit of a consolation prize. But other than that, I'm like, I'm getting underground at like 40, 50 minutes. This is not a good time.
Yep. So spoiler alert, Joe did everything you did. He did do barren basement. He did not have the Dragoon shield, so he was relying on illusions for cover strats. And then he kind of followed you every step of the way. One thing that Joe did do was he took on that evil wall, because of course he did, and that evil wall did have Sand Ruby. So that was a possible moment of divergence. So while you were grinding, he was doing wonderful Joe things, which looked like they were paying off there for a little while. But the moon paid off for you. And talk to me about your decision to go ahead and bail on CPU, because that ended up being a huge time save for you.
As you mentioned earlier, the grind, or I was grinding while Joe was doing Joe things down in the Fey March, as he had opted to do. And lo and behold, Palom wasn't slingable. Here I thought he was, but he was showing a little nuke. So I'm looking for any additional XP I can find to get my second newcaster on the ground or on, running, because ultimately the Romus is not going to be dying anytime soon with only one single newcaster. That newcaster being Rydia, probably the second worst newcaster in the game, second only to Foo, probably. So I'm doing all these additional checks. CPU pops up. I'm like, that's a lot of XP, and maybe if I had 2 nukes, I could reflect them and just go, plan Q. But if I had 2 nukes, I wouldn't be doing CPU. So I kind of channeled my inner Talgrand. I remember Talgrand played last week and ran into a very nasty Crystal Sword alt gauntlet. He abandoned ship immediately. I believe he was playing Vatasia, and Vatasia did not. And that ended up being the difference in the game. So I'm like, I'll find my 150, 200k XP elsewhere. Let's go chase that my rat tail, and potentially just go do everything else that I faded underground, because by this point I'm down to maybe like 3 checks on the moon: Masamune, Murasame, and Cave Value. So almost certainly there is value back on all those checks I left back on Earth. So let's just go find our go mode first, and then we can take some random encounters on the way down, and lo and behold, rat tail was what I was looking for.
Makes all the sense in the world to me. I only have one more question I can think of right now. Why, when you hopped into Cave Magnus, you put the dwarf axe on Sid to, I was presuming, to slow him down? What was the decision behind that? Because that's not usually a spot we try to do slow agility for.
Yeah, because at that point my only 2 real damage dealers were Palom and Cecil, and I understand there is significantly high magic resistance at that particular location, but I wanted to make Palom act a little faster just in case it was one of the fights that I could actually get through the magic defense of. Notably, Odin was one of those, but Palom wasn't fast enough, or I just misjudged the speed of how quickly Odin would go. Thankfully, Odin isn't powerful enough to one-shot Cecil or Sid there, so I got away with that one, because especially I had not saved prior to that, so it would have been a bit of a time loss otherwise.
Yeah, Joe was behind you at that point, but he had been carrying Yang the whole time, so Thunderclaw did something, so he bought back a little time on that one. We are joined by MJ, who did commentary for the first time tonight. MJ, do you have any questions for today's winner?
Oh gosh, can I have your autograph?
Sure. It'd be about like $5.99. I take PayPal or Venmo. John can get you in touch with that. No, but welcome to commentary. I'm glad to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
I thought of a new question. What was the thought process between the two of you to end up at Dangerous Gates for your modifier for this week?
Prior to the matchup, I slid into NG Dave's whisper that I'm like, we're going to do Dangerous Gates, just watch. I know that Joe does not like any type of flag set or modification that would likely make a seed easier. So understandably, he faded Free Party because that makes the seed easier. And at the same time, he also faded just no changes whatsoever because he wanted something a little different. Meanwhile, I haven't done a K-Trap or a K-Monster in the Box seed in probably like 2 years. So I did not know where all the trap boxes were, so I faded that one. And at the same time, too, I wanted to try to reduce the amount of variance in the seed, so I said no thanks to triple chances because now we're looking for characters. Now we're looking for bosses, and that I've only really practiced a few ZZ6 seeds over the past few months. I didn't really want to go into some kind of direction that would significantly change the way I play a seed because I'm just not prepared for that right now. I'm not practiced enough. So Dangerous Gates was a pretty good middle ground for the most part. It didn't hit today. I really thought it was going to. I'm like, oh man, that Pale Gem have my magma key. Unfortunately, it did not, but maybe one of the other games, Game 2 or Game 3, will actually have Dangerous Gates hit if not, Dangerous Gates for the most part just is like the vanilla VD6 flag set, which I'm pretty happy to play.
Yeah, it's funny because it took me a hot second to. Oh, so you're in it. Thanks. It took me a hot second to. Chat was on it real quick about how it's forced magma. Because I think I've done one Dangerous Gates, which had, well, I think I had like starting magma. I was like, all right, well, I guess we're not having Dangerous Gates today. It's what FBL and I were talking about this last week. Like, it's a thing until it's not, right? Like, it's probably fine, but when it's not fine, it can be absolutely catastrophic. And that's GG's for Joe, who's got his crumble skip over here. Really nice fight for Joe. Yeah, because you have this Golbez there that could be, in a way gating your underground, but it's the hook, so it's not the logical way there. And then which kind of leads, because that fight, if fighting Golbez there it's doable, obviously, but it stinks. It's a lousy long fight. The veils wear off. You're only reflecting so much. Ugh, just a mess of a fight. So it's funny how like it actually led you to eventually finding theoretically an easier way underground and an objective. So it's almost like the Dangerous Gates even helped you on this one. It's wild, really fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a confusing situation after Pale Dim down at the Odin Throne did not result in anything, and I'd already checked Vanilla D-Mist, I checked the Waterfall, so it's one of two locations. It didn't actually have to be the Rex banner up at Dot 1. It could have been King Queen Eblan D-Mist, which would have been absolutely awful. I just tried Dot 1 because I didn't really want to walk down that hook route and lucked out there, but like, imagine just D-Mist. This happened to me, I want to say, during an EELC when I was playing Kyrios in round 1. There was a D-Mist holding magma at King Queen Eblan, and there was something really nasty at the second spot in Rubicon, and I didn't want to see that again, but that was in the back of my mind the entire time I was walking up Dot thinking, please be here, please be here.
And it was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, MJ, anything else for our winner tonight?
No, yeah, just looking forward to the next match.
Oh, when is the next match?
That is Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern, I believe.
Thank you for saying Eastern time. I appreciate on my own currency.
I mean, it's the only time zone that actually matters, right?
I love you. See, I know I loved you. If it wasn't the gameplay and the handsome face, the sweet talk just does it for me every time. Well,
I do it for the job.
Well, GG's again. Very fun to watch. Tech and efficiency and just a real, such a fun race between you two. So GG's and love you, but kind of hoping for 3 games of y'all, and we'll see how Saturday goes. Good luck.
I appreciate it. John, MJ, Dave, Tibalt, thank you all for putting on the stream tonight. And MJ, go blue.
Yes, go blue.
All right, good night, man.
Great night, guys.
That was our winner, Rhybon, and here is the one and only JudgeJoe. GG's, my friend.
Thanks. That was a fun seed. Well rolled. Did not work out. That package was literally the one I'm like, it's gonna be the package just for the absolute maximal punish. And it was the package.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff happened before then, though. What was going through your head when you saw you've got a hook route, you have a way underground, it doesn't necessarily have to be rude, and then it's Golbez in the Ruby spot? What's going through your head?
It could be I was as Rhybon was fully expecting that Odin Throne to be my underground. 2, I know that Golbez is stinky. I know at 25k of that's gonna be slow. There's honestly a decent shot that I can just get through most Odin spots for the magma, or potential chance of the harp objective or whatever chain, and just save some time that way. Bit more XP, but well, combination of couple things. One, I didn't swap any Dragoon gear on Cecil, and I wanted to keep my cover strats. Didn't have ethers in any of the shops I checked, so that hurt my Palom DPS plan. When I swapped to the Lilith Rod to get instead of using the Succubus, I also lost all of my bluffed up wisdom, so another couple thousand damage gone there. And so I probably could have easily been a good 3 minutes faster on that Paladin fight if I had just been a little better set up.
It happens. I mean, you have no way of knowing until you get there that it's going to be, somebly Paladin where the Dragoon gear is going to help. I mean, you can try and anticipate all the things, but you can't prepare for literally everything. So, I think a pivotal moment of the race, because you were a little behind, but because you had Yang, you made up time at the Twin Harp because you had a Thunderclaw. Yep. So you caught up some time there, and you're kind of come back into it. And then along comes the Fey March. Now we know you love your. We talked about it before it started. How you can take any match at any time, right? And you'll go to the you'll fight anywhere with everything. That is kind of your MO. And you paused there for a while, kind of looking at the Fey March. I'm assuming the Baigan you did not take because of the virus of the vampires, and maybe the DPS would be enough for me not to. You walk us through what you were thinking when you saw who the bosses were at the Fey March.
Okay, couple things. I had gotten the Sand Ruby from Dwarf, so I was with that darkness there. I was one key item from go. Pretty decent shot of there being it on the moon, but also pretty decent shot of it being on Earth. I knew that I had flubbed my overworld, and even if I got the Twin Harp, even if Rhybon had faded that, he would have. I figured there was a decent shot that my mistakes in the Pale Dim was enough to put me even just a little behind. So if I just go straight, chase the darkness, chase those 3, get my last key item, go mode, I just didn't see that paying out and getting me the win. So I went for one of the fight. If Rydia had better AoE, I would have considered the Baigan, but only Palin's AoE just overall did not feel like it was going to be the quite right. So I went with the Evil Wall. Get the tower key. One more key item gets me a little closer to 10. I'm at 8 key items now. So Keyless Tower is another thing that people might fade, so I go there. Only thing in Tower was the pass, so no key items. If I was at 9, I do Sheila 1, but only at 8, I figured I still gotta try and do something. I looked at so that's kind of what led me to how I routed the moon.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Was there any part of you that was going to grind before you got to the moon, or did you kind of already have it in your head that the moon was going to be your grind?
Grinding before moon, there was a possibility. 10 key items would have put me to do that, but I figure the 10 key item pre-moon grind was what Rhybon was doing, who I thought that route, with or without the Sand Ruby he was already on, so I could not go with that. I had gotten the pass, so that was like the one tiny advantage I had maybe pulled out of that Evil Wall, so I knew I had to go and push it. And then I also looked at my boss tracker. It had Yang, free fight. Mega Sisters, weak to Quake. King Queen Eblan, free fight. Calbrena Dolls, free fight. Cave Bahamut, free fight. Kaipo Guards, free. Octomam, weak to lightning. And outside of Mom Bomb, CPU, which I still had AoE and Max Bluff Quakes does work on, and Wyvern, I thought that I could go and possibly blitz through the couple moon fights I need and hopefully spike that 10 key items, maybe go mode and some advantage, and claw back at the time I was behind.
Thanks.
But Wyvern was there. One of the 3 out of 12 bosses that I just didn't quite want to fight.
Yeah, and you did a really nice job with reflecting the Mega Nukes. It was just unfortunately slower. MJ, I've been hogging all of Joe's time. Do you have any questions for him?
No, you kind of dug into my big question. What led him to the moon rather than taking that earlier grind once he had the darkness? But don't know. I feel like that was pretty well explained. I don't have anything else.
Joe, do you see yourself? Rhybon, let us know that your next match is going to be on Saturday, 10 p.m. Correct time zone over here on the east. Do you anticipate? What will Possum say? Don't give away too much, but do you anticipate making any tweaks to the game plan, or do you think you're just going to go in kind of doing the things that typically bring you success along the way?
You never know until you have the seed in front of you how it'll
Ooh,
play out.
that's
I've
true.
always gone a little more with the flow. Yes, I can have a game plan. If I have a Palom and an early Magma, of course I'm going to try and leverage that. That's just kind of basics of my game, of how I learned to make it fast. So I'll play my game, Rhybon will play his. Maybe Be Unsafe will hit in a different way. We did have, or it did not, will actually hit. That was somewhere else. But that was, oh, that was Dwarf 2. But Be Unsafe will hit. Maybe it'll just be a early magma potential seed. Who knows? But there's, I know I can beat Rhybon. Um, we're fairly evenly matched. He has a little bit of an execution advantage, but I have some strats.
Yes, you do. All right, my friend. You put on a wonderful show. Both y'all did. And it's going to be some must-see TV on Saturday night, and we can't wait. Thank you so much for being restreamed, and I'm sure we'll probably be seeing y'all in 2 days.
Thank you so much for putting on the restream, all of you. Always good to have new commentary. Always enjoy watching them. Hope everyone enjoyed and have a good night.
All right, man. Take care.
Yeah, me too.
All right, man. What a wonderful race we had.
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat all night.
Yeah, it was a good one. And fortunately for us, I do believe that we have more free enterprise that we're heading off to.
Yep. It looks like we're gonna see what Pancraz versus Frankie Bones is up to on Free Enterprise 2.
So hang around for more free enterprise. Please remember that no spoilers in chat. There might be people over there that want to go ahead and watch this race and not be spoiled. So please don't give away the goods, but please enjoy more free enterprise. And we hope you all have a wonderful night.
Good night, everyone.